Colorado in USA, Scott's unique value proposition in the market is creating insightful, relevant, and engaging presentations to meet the personalized needs of the audience. Given Scott's very vast international experience, he offers each client a global and culturally sensitive perspectives. And in fact, when you look at Scott, I have seen him many times that he he has been doing things which is unbelievable, unknown, ready to celebrate. Good for life was meant to be celebrated. That's what Scott speaks. He is author of Celebrate Lessons Learned from World's Most Admired Organizations and a Celebration a Day, 365 Ways to be Happier, Healthier Workplace. He says, my mission as a professional speaker and chief celebration officer is to help organizations engage employees, create meaningful customer experiences, and improve organizational efficiency and performance and productivity through the power of celebration. You can find him speaking around the globe, revealing how leading businesses can create a culture of celebration and innovation, and how they profit through the effort. Let's learn and laugh together as we talk about how to create a happier, healthier organization and life. That is the buzzword, I repeat. Let's learn and laugh together as we talk about how to create a happier, healthier organization and life. That is the buzzword of Scott Friedman. His keynote topics have been immensely appreciated around the world through creating a culture of celebration in terms of employee engagement, productivity, peak performance, innovation, talent acquisition, talent retention, leadership development, customer experience, sales, adapting to change, and of course, work-life balance. I found this God's gift to my life some 15 years back at a conference in KL in Malaysia. And since then, we are real true friends. This person is so amazingly wonderful and beautiful in terms of networking that Scott has added a lot of value to my life, personally and professionally both. And without expecting anything in cash or kind. That is the personality this man has. And he is regularly into Bangkok. And whenever he is there, either he will come to my office or morning breakfast at Weston. On the top of Robinson, on Asok Junction, we have Weston 5-star hotel. He is regularly there. Why don't you join me for a breakfast? So what I am trying to talk to you is a friend from the Western world without expecting anything in cash or kind, and adding value to my life, my organization, my professional life. I salute Scott Friedman. That is Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, the format of this evening would be I would spend around 30 to 35 minutes with my questions. Love to take your questions from the audience on Facebook, YouTube, Global TV, or Zoom. And I would love to take your questions immediately after I finish some of the questions with Scott. On the Zoom, whoever is there, you can write your questions, but I can unmute you. You can ask questions yourself. And on the other channels, I cannot take that. I will pick up questions and ask on your behalf. Hi, Scott.
Wow, that's some introduction. Well, thank you. So I shouldn't expect any cash then, huh?
We're all free around the world. We are all people helping the world with our power of positivity. And that's what people keep on telling me. How are you? Your business is a mess. And how are you so happy? I said, we're adding value to life. We need to live in 2020 and 21, we can go back.
Right.
Scott, New DNA of Leadership is a series on every Wednesday, which I have been talking to various business leaders around the world. And I'm going to basically talk about three areas. One, your journey of excellence as a leader, business leader. Second, leadership learning from networking. You're a king, you're a dawn of networking across the world. And third one, which is very important, and in fact, during COVID and after COVID and before COVID, maybe there was unethical things, but DC probably gave us a lot of thinking to be ethical leadership perspective. So my three areas would be, my questions will be on these three areas. My question number one, Scott, for you. We all know you as a very successful keynote speaker who impacted many businesses, many stakeholders, many employees, many leaders, many governing boards of various companies. Tell us about your childhood. How did you get into this? And how are you known in the world? What did you do in the childhood to become Scott Friedman, the man today in the world? Yes, Scott.
Thanks for asking. That's normal, pretty normal childhood in America. Grew up in a middle-class family and went to college in Dallas, Texas. And it was when I came out of college, came back home, I went to work for the family business. We had a printing company here at the time in Colorado. And I was in sales and marketing and loving my job. And at 25, I was president of a side sales organization called Sales Professionals. And every Tuesday, we'd have a motivational speaker come in and speak to our sales group. And one Tuesday morning, or actually one Monday afternoon, I heard Cavett Roberts speak at our sister club downtown. And at the time, Cavett is the founder of the National Speakers Association. And so I invited Cavett to speak at our meeting the next morning. And I would start off every meeting with a little motivational quote or saying or a little story. And then I would summarize the speaker's talk in a humorous poem for the speaker as a tribute to them when they finished their talk. And on the way to the airport that next day, or that later that day, he told me I had a unique style and I should be a professional speaker. And at the time, I didn't realize he said that to everybody. So by the time I figured out, I was just another one of those that he wasn't encouraging. It was too late. I had already decided to quit the family business and go to work for a professional speaking company at the time. And that set off my professional speaking career at 25. And so I've been doing it for 6 years now at 31. No. You were going to buy that, huh? No, no. I turned 60 this year, so 35 years in the industry, and it's really been a wonderful journey. It's just I picked the right thing to do, and they say if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. Life is just one long holiday, and in a sense, really that, except till this year, that's pretty much been the way it is.
Fantastic. You are 1 year younger to me. I got 60 last year, but we are young, bright, energetic, energy, and I get a lot of vibration, energy from you. Scott, who was your role model when you were growing, and what were the major challenges you must have faced being what you are today? And how did this humorist approach came to your life and when?
I was very fortunate to grow up in a less dysfunctional family than most, and so role models really were my dad and my mom and my uncle and my grandfather, just really instilled good values in me, and so I grew up having the right perspective on how to treat people and really what's important in life and being there to serve, and that we really get the most out of life when we come from a place of service, and we ask how we can make other people's lives better, and then in turn that makes our lives better. So that's really the values I grew up with. So that was very lucky. Probably I shouldn't say probably, the biggest setback or challenge I faced when I was growing up was I had a brother I was close to that passed away when I was 20. He was 21, and that really wakes you up and makes you appreciate what's most important in life. But I learned that the worst things in life always contain some seeds of the best if we just learn how to use those things in our lives. And then that helped. When I started my speaking business, I spoke to a lot of groups and youth and high school students, and my brother took his own life, and so that was I really wanted to talk to students and kids about making healthy choices and never to let a temporary emotion become a permanent solution. And so that launched me into the speaking to high school students and youth, and learn to use a lot of humor, because if you're going to keep the attention of high school kids or junior high kids, you surely need to use a lot of humor and get on their level and wavelength, and so that's really where I started, and then moved into the corporate arena, and from there. So
Very painful to hear this story, and as you rightly say, such things when you face in life, you literally think and you make certain choices, and this is how you become humorist. My God, I did not even know about it. Uh, Very sad, but I think he must be watching you from that part of the world, and he must be looking at you, that how you are helping many people in the world, those who are under stress strain, and you are converting their stress strain into positivity. Thanks for sharing this, and very, very painful. Scott, I met you exactly 15 years back in Kiel. I want to tell you this story. I had gone for speaking assignment for this regional conference of Dr. Paul, a great man. I remember it was Asia HRD Congress. I remember that day before my session, which was in one of the side rooms. There are small rooms. There was a big talk by you. All were rushing to the main ballroom before that talk of that beautiful five-star property, wherein Scott Friedman would deliver the talk. I did not know who Scott is. Since I had landed from Bangkok same morning, I had no opportunity of meeting you over dinner when speakers meet. So I became more curious when I saw the brochure. I remember that session even now. What an amazing delivery. You were a performer on the stage. We all got mesmerized listening. Great Scott Friedman. My God, what a powerful session. Here, with this story, I would like to know, what were the three things which made you different from other keynote speakers? Can you share those three things which are really USP? Though I know something because I have watched you many times, USP of Scott Friedman. One, two, maybe there are four or five, but then I would like to know three things which are very USP. And this is a factual story. And that is the day our journey of friendship started, and it's carrying on.
Oh, thank you for the nice compliment. Could it be good looks, charm, and humor, maybe? No, I'm just kidding. No, as I speak to speakers around the world, and we converse about what really it takes to be how to move from being a good speaker to a great speaker. The three qualities I really think are humility, authenticity, and vulnerability. I think too often, especially it seems in the Eastern world, in Asia and in India and some other places, that you, as a keynote speaker, many times you need to prove your worth, your value, by telling stories about yourself that build you up, and it creates a disconnect between the audience and who's on the platform, because they can't really see themselves doing what you're doing. Uh, and the humility and the vulnerability piece is to share your life lessons through the lens of failure, because people want to be able to relate. People can relate to failure. They can relate to pain. They can relate to getting up and not feeling self-worth at times, and not having their life work out perfectly. So it's really the ability to open up and to be vulnerable and come from a place of humility. And then of course the authenticity piece. I mean, we want to feel comfortable with you on the platform. We want, you're a great speaker and in your own right, and I appreciate listening to you. And so I think we share those qualities that's what, if we come from that place. And the vulnerability is very difficult, but it's not to do therapy on stage, but it's to open up our lives and let how does my life, how are our lives similar? What do we have in common? Truly want to connect with an audience. It's find the commonalities in what we have together. And I think that's really the key to being a good speaker today.
Fascinating. I think you rightly said humility is one of the most powerful things which keynote speakers should have. And probably when we look at a lot of keynote speakers, probably most of them have. But then when you talk about vulnerability, I love this word. This is a really great word which you used. And when you are with the audience and the audience expecting you to deliver. Great, Scott. Scott.
DK, just real quick, being a leadership program, I mean, that's not only the 3 keys of being a good speaker. I mean, you can transfer that right into leadership as well. We want a humble leader. We want an authentic leader, obviously, that'll tell you the truth, and authenticity. That creates an opening to give our employees a voice. Is when we're vulnerable and we're willing to open up and communicate and talk about our own pain, then that allows other people to do the same. So we need to model those characteristics as a good leader.
Absolutely. We're really talking speaker as a leader here, I'm sure. And we have seen DC during COVID, when this thing came to us all the way, from China. And, there were certain leaders who were shivering. And there were certain leaders who were very powerful in taking it and taking actions. And the authenticity of leaders and honesty of leaders was quite visible. I don't want to name certain leaders. I don't know what's going to be happening in the election, but we all know. So this shivering and strength of a leader was quite visible during COVID, and that too in the beginning when it attacked all the human race. And I want to appreciate here, I want to tell you, we're very lucky today to have Prime Minister Modi. And he has been a very strong, fascinated leader. And not only for his own country, first he went to the neighborhood and then he went to the global world. So leadership is something which is driven by this humility, which is driven by that vulnerability of accepting and authenticity. Very, very beautiful. That's why, my signature program, Roadmap to Success, DNA of Leadership, with, with Mark Brown, I have this DNA of Leadership. And then when I was finalizing this Wednesday talk, one of my friend who was the first speaker, S.Y. Siddiqui, well-known name in the country, he said, let's create new DNA of leadership, not DNA of leadership. Because COVID and beyond COVID, during COVID and after COVID will require new DNA of leadership. Great, Scott. Scott, when we look at you while continuously keep raising the bar of excellence, as well as along with speaking, leadership, you authored many books simultaneously, especially your two latest books, Celebrate Lessons Learned from World Most Admired Organizations, and A Celebration a Day, 365 Ways to Be Happier, Healthier Workplace. What is your own motivational fit for building your journey of excellence as one of the most respected business leaders?
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I think as leaders, our goal is to stay relevant to our people, whoever those people may be, to our community, to our, our tribe, those that we come in contact with, our audiences, if we're professional speakers. And so for me, the older I get, the more I want to come from a place of service and leave a legacy of making a difference in this world. So it's a tough balance to walk. In 2008, I started an organization with Janice Stanfield called Together We Can Change the World. And our mission is to educate and empower less fortunate children and women in Southeast Asia. And we have about 20 causes throughout Southeast Asia, many in Thailand. And so as when you're young, you have boundless energy. And when you turn 60, you have not quite as many bounds, but still a lot of good energy. But how do you? It's really determining what your personal value set is, and how you want to impact the world, and then how do you make time for all of that? So I want to continue to write because that helps me stay relevant. I want to continue to read, and my space is really the HR space, employee engagement, employee innovation, customer experience. So I try to stay current in those areas, to read the blogs of those thought leaders, and then the rest of my time I spend on the foundation trying to make a bigger difference. You mentioned networking earlier. It's meeting promoters from around the world, or really mostly Southeast Asia, I should say, and forming relationships. And so how can we together create a more abundant pie for speakers, as well as then create a connection between the business community and the causes that we serve in Southeast Asia. So that's really my focus, is how to do that while at the same time remaining relevant. And my motivation to do all that is of what I do. So if you really enjoy what you do, then you're not working. You're just out there having a holiday.
Yeah. I call it romancing with your destiny. When you love what you do, everything becomes easy. And I am also romancing with my destiny right now, without earning anything, but I am every day romancing with my destiny. I think you rightly said, staying relevant and impacting the world. And that's where, when I look at you as president of Speakers Association, and of course, probably the audience could not get, but I want to repeat it here. You drive this TWCCTW. Together we can change the world. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, what he drives is TWCCTW. It's a brand. Together we can change the world. Wherein he gets a lot of speakers around the world and moves from country to country, especially in Southeast Asia. And that's what I said. He makes 4 to 5 to 7 to 8 trips to Asia every year. That's where I have had opportunity of meeting some wonderful people during this networking whenever he comes to Bangkok. And we had the last dinner at, I think, cabbage and condom.
How could you forget the word condom?
Condom and cabbage. That was a great experience. It's one of the great restaurants in Sukhumvit, cabbage and condom restaurant, where everything you can see, condoms and cabbages. Very tasty, yummy food you can Thai food here. So I had these wonderful bunch of great trainers from US and other part of the world, and we had a dinner there and we enjoyed. So what I'm saying is, the powerhouse of networking is what? And shall I tell you something, ladies and gentlemen? Even when I was getting into this kind of a thing, which I was not earlier at all, in the month of March, and I called Scott, and I was actually preparing for Women Power program for young women. And Scott is speed. He just connected to people around the world. And she said, DK and Carolina, DK and Melanie, DK and this. And I got a lot of people. Without that, that's where my respect increases day by day for him. He immediately connected me to the world. So when I look at you, you are a true global talent. Okay. Is also global talent. You're a true global talent, builder in the world. We would like to know this power of this networking, which might give ideas to many people who are listening to you or who would be listening to you later on as a role model. Also, what are the significant leadership learning from this networking?
I I think it all comes down to what Zig Ziglar, a wonderful thinker and motivational speaker from way back when, um, Zig said, if you help other people get what they want, you will get what you want. So, you know, especially at a time of COVID, it's so easy to come from a scarcity mentality or to focus inward instead of outward. And those that are dealing the best with this COVID are the ones that are, okay, this is a time to serve. This is a time to give. This is a time to help others. Because when we're helping others, we're not focused on our own fears and uncertainty and stress and pressure and not having enough money to get by. We're just living in the state of service. So Cavett, Robert, who I mentioned earlier, who got me into the National Speakers Association and was a very instrumental and very encouraging in me to becoming president of the association in 2004, 2005. Cavett had a philosophy, a very abundance philosophy, where he said, if we share our trade secrets in the industry and we give it all away, then we raise the standards of professional speaking all over the world. And then thus we create opportunities for everybody because we have created a better industry. We've created a better brand, and people want to associate and buy from the National Speakers Association, the Global Speakers Federation, and our 15 associations around the world. So that really is a secret to networking is don't come there to get, come there to give. So I'm always looking for, I have in a book called Humor Me, I wrote a chapter about my perfect world philosophy. And my perfect world philosophy applies to negotiations, it applies to any relationship. And that perfect world philosophy is, if I can determine, and simply by asking, DK, in this, what's your perfect world here? What do you want out of this arrangement or this friendship or this particular business dealing that we will find ourselves in? Tell me, just be transparent with me. What do you want? Here's what I want. And let's figure out how can we best give each other what we want. Now, being a single guy in my life, I may not have credibility in this next statement, but relationships, personal relationships, same thing. I mean, when I do and go into a relationship is, find out exactly what they value, how can I give them more joy, more passion in their lives, and by looking at what certain things that they value that really makes up what their perfect world looks like. So the more in any relationship you can create that opportunity to provide the perfect world for the other person, the better that relationship is going to be. So
wonderful. And relationship will always have a great responsibility to bear, and it can give wonderful results. Beautiful. Scott, before COVID, BC is a history. During COVID, DC has been the most challenging, tough task for all of us. But when I see you in DC, Your humor has increased. How come? What all did you do during DC? So many programs around the world. We don't know when AC after COVID will come. What is your view about leadership role in DC, AC, and when there is need to be very compassionate and at the same time very agile in business?
I think you alluded to it earlier when you talked about the leadership qualities of your leader there in India. That first you have to show up and take ownership of the problem. You know that you're there. Take response, even though you didn't create the issue. Take responsibility for fixing the issue. Stand up and take a stand. Number one, in organizations, I think during this time, you see more fear and uncertainty, and people are worried. I mean, not only about their financial futures, but about contracting the disease and then spreading it to family. And I mean, I can't think of anything worse than giving it to an elderly parent and dealing with that. And so it's in organizations, it's making sure that everybody has a voice. There's a lot of remote learning going on. So how can we honor people? How can we really give them an opportunity to feel more important, to reach out? So the leaders have to be more present than they've ever been before. They have to lead their organizations and share ownership, to share their own fears and uncertainties. It goes back to what we talked about earlier with the authenticity and vulnerability. Talk as leaders about what we're going through and how we're going to solve this together. So people think that sometimes being vulnerable is weak, but actually vulnerability is strength. Once people can relate to what we're going through, now we're on the same team solving this problem together. So you create cohesiveness in a leadership team as opposed to driving a wedge between your employees and leadership.
Wow. Admirable, Scott. I think you really gave us something which people need to think, especially as leaders, whether they are political or business leaders. Scott, my last question, which is because how do you see ethical leadership going forward? What's your message to leaders on ethics in building nations and global one world, one love, one human, irrespective of caste, creed, color, nationality, religion, and gender? Do you see there will be some changes when we move out of DC to AC from during COVID to after COVID? Do you see that there will be much stronger ethical approach by political as well as business leaders?
No, I'm just kidding. No, no, one huge lesson that we learned through this COVID is how interconnected we are as a world. That what you do in India really does impact what happens here in America. We are a global community, and it's everybody's responsibility to take care of one another. And hopefully that we realize as we move forward how important our behavior is to everybody else's behavior. It's a funny time in the U.S. now with elections 6 days away and a lot of voting going on, and there's so much divide here. And I hope whatever happens in our elections, but that is the next step for us, because we need to learn that lesson that we are one community where we need to take care of the globe together. And if we don't practice ethical leadership with artificial intelligence and with how easy it is to create things that these conspiracy theories about all kinds of different things, if we don't get on the same page and come from a place of truth and integrity and really help others and come from that place of service, and there's too much hate. I mean, we need to be ambassadors of love and kindness, And I think you're going to see it much more abundantly in the world, and as we learn these lessons. And I always believe that good conquers evil. So, in the end, good will conquer, and that we will see a much more ethical, honest, integrous approach to leadership.
But how do you see, one more question, last one, a small question. When we see countries led by women, they are much better than men. Do you see any difference?
Is there research on that? is that just because you admire women leaders from
Power is what I'm doing. I see it's happening. These 5, 6 women in the world had a different style of managing and being there.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we talked about. I think they're even strong women. You look at their vulnerability as a strength, and it comes back to they're willing to just open up and be more honest and approach life and leadership that way, and so that they invite people in and thus create more support for what they're doing. So yeah, I mean, we live at a time where we're going to see more women leaders, and that's a wonderful thing as we embrace the Black Lives Matter, but really all lives matter. Really, all lives matter.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I have the first question from President of SME.
Oh, JP, I think you're
JP, I think there's something wrong with his microphone. I had to now it's okay. Mr. Malhotra, I am going to unmute you. You can ask your question to Scott. Please unmute yourself. I have already done it. Mr. Malhotra. Something wrong with him. Okay. I have the second question coming from, Mr. Malhotra. Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Maybe it's better in the chat box.
Let me mute him. His question is, how do you turn adversities into professional success, especially when you have some personal devastation as you had coming out of it? He is the boss of the industry association. Yes, sir. That's the question.
Yeah. I mentioned that the worst things in life always contain some seeds of the best, and that things happen the best for the people that make the best out of the things that happen. So it's really where your focus is. So it's easy to, especially now, and rightfully so, to be emotional about issues and what's going on in our lives. But if we give ourselves permission to grieve for a certain amount of time, and then it's like, okay, now what's the future look like? So be more visionary. Look for the gifts. I talk about in my programs about how if you look through the eyes of fear and resentment, that shows up as fear, resentment, and anger in your future. If you look through the eyes of gratitude, that you have an opportunity, that we've been given this opportunity to make a better life for ourselves, then that shows up as hope and faith in the future. So it's really to be more of a visionary about, what are the gifts here? Let's focus on the gifts, and let's focus on the future and how we can make it better for everybody, and not wallow in this devastation and this pain that we may feel on any given day.
Fascinating. If you look at the eyes of gratitude, you will have the gratitude. Great. The question is now, next question from Anshul Sharma. She is the director of a business school in Mumbai. And Anshul, I have unmuted you. You can go ahead with your question.
Yes, good evening, and thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful, session that we had. And
Thank you,
I'm
Sure.
feeling so fortunate and thankful to this DC also during COVID when we have this, lovely opportunity interacting with such a wonderful speaker. See, my question is, sir, you are talking about, having right vision and just going forward for that. But sometimes what happen, we decide, and then there are some external factors also that plays their own role in shaping or maybe deviating you from the particular path or from your destination. So how would you suggest that how we can control the external factors which is not in our control? So how to mend our ways even during such circumstances? So can you please throw some light on that?
I think you, in the question, you kind of answered the question. You said, how can you control what we can't control? And
No,
the
sir.
fact we can't control it means we can't control it. So we can't control in today. And I think that's why COVID drives people crazy, is because, there's so many of us are control freaks. We built our lives based on what works for us. We have been in control, and all of a sudden control is taken away, and we don't have the power to control external circumstances. All we have the power to do is how we react to those external circumstances. And that's so the answer I gave before is the same answer here. So all we can do is be grateful for the life that we have. I saw a wonderful quote that 2020 was going to be the year that I thought I was going to have everything I wanted. Instead, it became the year I appreciated, or I appreciate everything I have. So it's appreciating what we have, surrendering to the fact that we can't control external circumstances, but we surely can be grateful and find the gifts in what we have, and then continue to focus forward and not get stuck in the circumstances that are holding us back.
Exactly. But sir, can I just ask something else also in this?
Quick.
See, yeah, as it is said that you can be grateful only when your pockets are full of, money. And so there are so many people across the globe. I'm saying it's not only in India or Mumbai that their financial, positions or their financial status have been shattered like anything. So many people have left they have been chucked out of their jobs, and they do not have money to feed their families also. So in such a situation, the priority becomes that how to, control that financial thing. And since even the companies are not offering any roles these days, so what such people should do? Because just remaining motivated is, I think, will not suffice in such a situation. So what would your suggestion to such people who do not have, financial stability in this situation, but still they have to look forward for their families?
So in a financial situations, I know for me personally, when this whole pandemic started, I lost all my business, all my speaking engagements around the world. And, how do you deal with that? Together We Can Change the World provides the opportunity to see people so less fortunate than I am around the world. So I look at people that are struggling how to put dinner on the table tonight. And all of a sudden, you know what? My life doesn't seem bad at all. So when we come from a place of service, all of a sudden we forget that we don't have any money ourselves. So, it's a problem you can't solve. I mean, when you wake up in the morning and you're wondering how you are going to feed your family, I mean, that's a serious problem. So the best, so it's back to focus. So if we still can serve others, then every day we can feel good about the life that we're living, even though there's going to be some deep-rooted pain in not being able to take care of our own family. But it's a day-to-day focus to serve others that will give us the strength and the satisfaction, and not get stuck in our own pain.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And I am another another person whom you can see every day somewhere talking about power of positivity. And my brother gets a salary, and I was telling him other day, you get a salary, so you're happy. There was one more friend of mine with good dollar salary. I said, you should be happy. I don't get salary. I don't get anything. I have employees. I did not remove any employee. I did not pay them full. We decided to have reduced salaries, but did not put any employee on the road. And I am still in the power of positivity. I lost complete business contracts which would have come. Scott knows this United Nations Women Power contract would have been in 6, 7 countries. Nothing has happened till date, but I am on the power of positivity on giving. And it's very important when Scott is talking about 2020 is a year where it's only a matter of doing appreciation, appreciation, appreciation. And that is a fact of life. I think even if you don't have, but you are looking at the person who doesn't have a dinner for his late night and may sleep without a dinner. So we are much better than them. And when he says about together we can change the world, it's a beautiful concept, which is, I am an admirer of Scott, is whatever you can contribute during COVID. Anshul, I hope you got very good response from Scott.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr.
I got that.
Malhotra,
Thank you so much.
Mr. JP Malhotra is
Thank
quite
you.
happy that he got response from you. I got Jennifer asking some question from Malaysia. Scott, do you remember? I don't know. I can't show her here. Jennifer met us at Sarawak in 2012 in Malaysia when we were together at that conference which I was talking about. She's a Malaysian. She's again part of the Women Power from Malaysia with me. Yes, Jennifer, you got, she put on the LinkedIn today, both the people I met in Sarawak and now I'm meeting digitally today. I want, yes, Jennifer.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Scott, Mr. Bakshi.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
It's good to listen to you again. Okay, my question, any differences between women and men when it comes to leadership? What style they actually practice in their organizations? Maybe you can explain that, or if there any research done on the leadership style between men and women? I would like to know about that.
Well, that may be above my pay grade. DK, you want to take that one?
We just did talk about 6 women prime ministers and men. I'm not saying every man is bad, every prime minister is bad, but the women, as Scott rightly said, probably women have more positive side of that vulnerability. And women are more compassionate as compared to men. And probably that makes them different business or political leaders because their power of perseverance, their power of passion, and their power of persistence is much higher than men. Men are a little rough and tough. When we see some presidents, I don't care. I'm going to put her into the jail. I don't know. you know the statements. But then there will be a women who will be polite, will be compassionate, will take care of even difficult, tough situations, like mother at home. When you look at our mothers, when I was talking to Scott in the beginning, I was your childhood, who was your mentor. You talk about father and mother becomes very important. This mom really is very compassionate. And we may fight, but mom said, oh, my dear son, don't worry, everything will be fine. So women has got that kind of a leadership trait. Probably part of the DNA. Scott can add. Am I right, Scott?
Yeah, I think so. And I would add that for women, it's a lot of times it's the stories they tell themselves. So if you believe in yourself and you tell that you are a leader and that you deserve to be in charge of this company and you truly want to bring out the best in your employees and give people a voice, and then it's, we create our own realities by how we believe, So Watch your thoughts become your words. Watch your words become your actions. Watch your actions become your habits, and your habits become your destiny. So I can't give you the research. I've read some research, and I don't want to quote it wrong, but I think that whether we're man or woman, it really does start with our own beliefs and our own values. And women obviously have to work harder at becoming leaders in their organizations, not because they don't have the internal leadership qualities. They do for sure. It's just a matter of we haven't accepted women leadership so much in so many global communities, but thank God that is changing. And so women need to step up and honor their own power today, and thus they will become the leaders that is inside of themselves.
Right.
Very,
Thank you for the explanation.
very great value add, Scott. That added a lot of value, and in fact, I learned out of it. And next question is Vivek Harkoli, and I am going to unmute him. And Vivek is being the business leader. He has been my colleague. He has been traveling around the world, say 20, 25 days a month, a hardcore business leader. But he learned a lot of HR when we have been traveling from Lithuania to Romania to England and other places of the world. And a great business leader, Vivek Harkoli. I am unmuting you, and you can go ahead with your question. Vivek Harkoli. Yes, Vivek. Vivek, you can unmute yourself.
Good morning, Scott. Good evening, DK.
Yeah.
Morning. Good evening.
Thank you. I've had several takeaways from your such a motivational speech, which I think love what you do. Life is a wonderful journey. Get on the wavelength with the people, relate to them, connect with people. And of course, the three buzzwords that you said: humility, authenticity, and vulnerability. And last, what was most important was give to people. And how do you add value to them? And here I can relate. I would like to mention a small incident. I was going for an interview with a new upcoming organization. And we started, the gentleman who was interviewing me, we had a breakfast interview. And I discussed with that gentleman about the whole dynamics of the business in which he was entering and which I was already in. And that interview continued well past into lunch. I discussed and shared my thoughts and views and what is the dynamics of that business in which he's entering. I came back after lunch, and my partner, my wife, said, "Look, you have given away so much of knowledge. The guy will use it, and and you are done. He will not even invite you." And lo and behold, I was invited by that organization to join them, which I did join later on. So what you rightly said, give to people. And I shared with that gentleman, that organization which was coming up, a new organization, whatever knowledge I had. And I think that was the turning point. So as you rightly said, give to people, and that is what would create value and opportunity for everybody. My question now is, which I did join late. My question now is, Scott, you said about how do you continuously enhance your knowledge, which you will share in the future. You did mention that you do read, that you do a lot of, you interact with people and you gain knowledge from them. Is there something else which you would like to recommend? How does one enhance the knowledge? Reading is one, that's for sure, but something else which you would like to, which comes to your mind? That's my question.
I think by having a healthy routine and rituals in our lives. So reading is one way. There's some amazing podcasts out there today. So many of us are filling our minds with wonderful thoughts from podcasts. you go on to YouTube and you listen to TED Talks. I mean, we can learn anything we want, really through TEDx or TED, TED.com, as well as, how do you find out about to fix or to do or any knowledge? There's a video on YouTube today about it. So it's being disciplined with whatever learning regimen that you have. In HR terms today, self-directed learning is so important, and especially in this remote workforce that we find ourselves in, is we focus on outcomes more than we do activities today. Thus, we're self-motivated. But it starts with our self-directed learning and what our journey needs to look like, and how much we take in. And wow, I mean, you look at the Zoom opportunities. There's so many conferences, and most of them free today. I talked a little about Together We Can Change the World, and when we could not travel anymore together, we're doing a global summit. It's called bouncebacksummit.org. You can find out about us, and we have some incredible champions, and we are charging, and all the money does go to causes. So, as you're looking to say, gee, should I do that, or should I get this free content? Know that we do, give it all back. But yeah, so it's just doing enough research and first of all, what do you want to be an expert about? How do you get to the top of whatever your field is, and then come up with a self-directed learning plan that allows you to then remain relevant and be of value in whatever your profession is.
Thank you, Scott. I think my takeaway was, what is going to be your journey in the future? And therefore you build around it. That's what I appreciated. Thank you very much, Scott. And
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks for your story. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Vivek. And I got Rajan Datta, a well-known name from India and in the global world, the managing director of Extrops, and he has been a very great friend and president of Reliance, Airtel, Xerox. Today, when you talk about Rajan Datta, he himself is a brand in his place. Rajan is again traveling globally and very well-known leadership coach. Rajan, you have a question for Scott. I unmute you. Raja, you can unmute yourself now.
Great. Thank you so much, DK. Great, Scott, to hear your wonderful thoughts. Real privilege to kind of hear and understand some of your great learnings.
Thank you.
The aspect of theme when you speak about happier and healthier organization, typically what it leads to very straightforwardly is happier and healthier individual and happier and healthier people at large. I think great thoughts around humility and vulnerability as the quality of great leader, and importantly also leaders to remain relevant. The most intriguing aspect of networking, which you shared about, learning to give, learning to help, come here only to give, and I think if you give, the rest will all come back to you. The most important element and an eye opener as people look at it and seeing from your perspective why you are so positive is actually defining the year 2020. And you say that 2020 year is a year of appreciation. How wonderful. What a great positive way of looking at life. Nothing so better than actually defining and describing year 2020. Just a small question, Scott. With all of this, how do you actually build humor as a speaker, humor in your sharing in your thoughts with people?
A lot of humor, I think, is inborn, or we're born with a certain way of looking at life. But the good news is we can develop that skill. Have a buddy here in the US that talks about looking through a comic vision. So we seem to get what we look for. So if we're looking for the funny, we find more of funny in life. I've noticed myself during this this election, the build up to it in the U.S., that I've lost some of my humor, and the reason I've lost it is because I'm not looking for it, because I end up filling my mind with negative thoughts, because you watch this contention, and so if you watch the news and you fill your mind with bad stuff and you start thinking those thoughts, then that becomes your reality. So I need to turn off the TV, and I need to, and luckily I do love people, and I'm driven by making a difference. So that's a blessing that I'm very grateful for. But again, it's what we focus on. If we look for the humor, if we ask ourselves, what's funny about this situation? What do I have to be grateful for? It opens up our mind to let funnier things, to perspectives to come in, to just look at life a little bit differently. So my answer would be careful what you feed your mind, because that is what comes out. You watch comedies, one of my favorite things to do during this pandemic has been to watch comedy. And we have a little ritual here at the house where, with a few of my housemates, that we watch comedy together, and that really lightens things up. And when you fill your mind with humor and you hang out with funny people, all of a sudden you start to think funnier, because that becomes your focus.
Wow.
Sorry for the long answer.
Absolutely lovely.
Love. Rajan, in fact, the point is, focus on what you want to do. Do not focus on what you do not want to do. And I remember 7-8 years back in my classrooms on communication, I would give an assignment where I will put two presidents or prospective presidents of America sitting together on a debate. Presidential debate of US was to be shown in a class of learning communication. Unfortunately, last two elections, it has been very dirty. Sorry to say this. And I cannot put that into the classroom. So this time, you won't believe I watched the first one. And after that, I never watched live. I can see some of them. So Scott is probably trying to tell us rightly that, when we watch this kind of a thing, your humor goes up. He says, my humor had gone. So we have to turn out, focus on what you want to do. Do not focus on what you do not want to do, and go back and have humor with your family, friends, even housemates, in order to rebuild, because there is a humor in every individual.
Wonderful thought. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rajan.
Thanks, Rajan.
We are already 65 minutes, but I have still questions. I can take this last question from Unichizada from Afghanistan. She is one of our women leaders in Afghanistan, and I can take her question quickly. Yes, Anuchizada, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Mr. Sikat and Mr. Deke. Good evening.
Hello. Nice to meet
Mr.
you.
Sikat, I'm really happy. Nice to meet you, Mr. Scott. Also, I left a message at Facebook that you responded me. I'm really happy for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you know that, yes, I'm talking from Afghanistan. You know that Afghanistan situation is worsening day by day. And during the COVID-19, since 7 or 8 months, the economic situation of Afghanistan is very low, and the people are living over the 80% in poverty in Afghanistan. So also, on the other hand, Mr. Trump announced that he withdrew his troops, USA troops from Afghanistan recently. So when the US troops withdraw from Afghanistan, you know that the situation will get more critical, and Taliban also not accepted the negotiation. The peace negotiation turned to negative. So the people are very worrying about that, and Taliban also increased their security attacks, and they targeting the civilian event. So it's more critical situation now in Afghanistan. All the people lost their hope. Just I want to ask you that in this situation, how you support the woman leader, and what do you want to do for women empowerment in Afghanistan? Because you are a leader, I know that you probably create some jobs for the people who want. And I ask you, if possible, you can establish some jobs for Afghans inside of Afghanistan, or if you provide some projects in Afghanistan to create jobs for the people, especially for the women, I will be very happy. How you support the women in Afghanistan? Thank you.
You know, I'm involved with, I mentioned Together We Can Change the World, and we have in Malaysia, we have so many Afghan refugees that we support that because of the war-torn areas that they can get into Malaysia. So I've come to love the Afghan people. They just do some amazing work in Malaysia and you know, and around the world. Boy, I wish I had easy answers for you, and I don't. Other than just, you know, don't lose hope. To focus on gratitude. As we feel this pain and this uncertainty, and it feels like our world is falling apart, to reach out and to give to others, because at least that's going to create internal happiness, that we feel better about ourselves when we're not focused in, when we're focused outward. And for the job, you know, you look at sites like Fiverr or Odesk now, where you can go on, and I hire a lot of contract employees from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, from different parts of the world. That seems to be a good way to do it. We started a film school in Malaysia where we teach video editing, and some of those students are Afghanis, and just beautiful students, beautiful people. So, you know, through those opportunities, online opportunities, maybe that would help the job situation.
Thanks, Scott. I know the condition of Afghanistan. As you know, I was invited by the First Lady to do programs for Afghan women. I know a lot of women there. I know Onichizada very well. She is a women leader. She is part of our women power. But unfortunately, whatever has happened in terms of Trump withdrawing and probably Taliban taking more guns in hand, and it may be really tough for them. Very sad, but let's see how.
Yes,
Your response is
sure,
very
sure,
Onichi,
Mr. Diki.
keep
The problem is that in recently U.S. Embassy in Kabul announced that some extremist groups, including Taliban, planning to target the human rights defender, particularly the women rights defender. So this creates more tension for the women, including me. I'm worrying too much about my life and also my kids' life. Really, I lost my hope. I want to search the positions which announces by many countries, but I applied too much for the positions outside of Afghanistan. Unfortunately, no one knows me, and they don't hire me, but they don't give an opportunity to have an interview with them. This is the big challenges for us, that the other countries don't believe for the Afghanistans, because Afghanistan people, particularly the women, are very talented, the hardworking people.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Onichizada, we are certainly with you in your pain, and let's see the way forward, how things will be better, hopefully. But of course, I am personally with you. You are my friend. You're one of very respected women leaders. And let's see how we move forward. We don't have an right answer right now, and it's not something we can go to Trump and ask him to do. This is something
Okay.
Yeah. Take
Okay.
care, be safe, and inshallah, believe in God, things will be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, I am taking the last question. You could see, Scott, we are already 75 minutes, and Ravender Pandita, last question I take, and I can't go to Facebook questions. Ravender Pandita, you can unmute yourself, your last question. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening here.
Good evening.
Ravinder Pandita from New Delhi.
Yes, sir.
And my direct question is that, is there any concrete, do you have any concrete plans for upliftment of the girl child and women in general in conflict zones throughout the globe? Like we have some NGOs like Oxfam or CRY or WFD, etc. That's it. Thank you.
You know, what we've learned in our 12 years of Together We Can Change the World is the best way that we can serve is to provide opportunities for skills. And it's for us, it seems to be able to make sure that areas have a secure internet connection, and then to be able to get online and to learn video editing and to learn marketing skills. And we partner with Autodesk out of the US here. They have AutoCAD software and Rivet software where it's very intuitive, and you know, women are bright all over the world to be able to learn these skills, and then being on in a virtual remote space, then being able to use those skills. Canva is another wonderful program, internet based program, also an app, Canva, where you can learn graphic design skills. So I think it's easy to learn to knit or to sew or whatever, but today to really be able to use your mind and to take advantage of your brain and to learn some of these skills that are transferable, and you can really create wonderful work all over the world.
Okay, thank you so much, Scott. Scott, now I need to get into closure. We are going to be meeting soon again. Weston, Sukhumvit, Ashok Junction, breakfast in the morning. And I miss that place when we meet and hug. And before closing, I have still a lot of questions coming from Facebook, but because we are already 75 minutes done, and I cannot take it forward, but you can write your comments and we can respond to your comments on Facebook and wherever you are. Now, to close this, I would request in Narula, the Global Talent Company Director, Bangkok, Thailand, well-known name. In Narula, I am unmuting you, and please propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, Dr. Bakshi, can you hear me now?
Yes, clear.
Yes. Sir Scott Friedman, I have been hearing about you for a long time through Dr. Bakshi. He spoke highly of you. He is very appreciative of your happy family orientation, happy organization orientation, appreciative culture. He loves it. Anyway, before I go on to thank you, Sir Friedman, I also would like to give you an open invitation when the skies open up to please visit us in Bangkok, Thailand, together with Dr. Bakshi, and we'll have breakfast again at the Westin. We will enjoy that. I would like to talk to you. It's going to be interesting. Scott Friedman, we really appreciate you gave us a lot of very fine points, things that sometimes we overlook in the midst of the busyness in the organization. We learn that your idol, granddad, dad, mom, and besides your family, you talk about two persons, and which strike me to be very important. And the first one is Mr. Kevin, who was instrumental for you to become the president of a speaking club and or arena. And that really changed your life. And you are what you are today because of that little incident that happened long ago when you were 25. Brilliant. We love that. And sometimes, you know, little things make a big difference, and we can see it with you. The second person that you talk about is Zig Ziglar. And what is important is you quoted him and you said that he said, give people what they want and they will give you what you want. And this is brilliant. This is always true. Zig Ziglar talked about the attitude and the altitude connection, which you, in your own way, describe that. Focus on the positive, focus on the hope, and this will take you to great heights, great altitude. And you expanded that in many, many ways. Now, Zig Ziglar also made the connection to the leadership perspective. And he gave an analogy of creating a happy home. In a happy home, you need to give time to your children. You need to give time to your spouse, and you need to listen to them. And the same is true within the organization. You need to give time, listen to your workers, listen to your people, because that will create a happy home. You know, when you do a good listening, when you pay attention, half of the issues and the challenges are solved. And I also like what you have said about the culture of celebration. And I love it because we, as leaders within many organizations, sometimes forget to do this. Appreciative culture is very important. We need to appreciate whatever they do that is right, that is good. Encourage them and stop the fault-finding habits. You know, we are trained to do that since childhood. You know, our teacher would mark red in our workbook. So in a way, you know, we have learned the habits of fault-finding. Maybe we need to rehabilitate ourselves. One very important thing that you said is you romance with your work. And, you know, what comes to my mind is this saying, if you cannot be with the one you love, or if you cannot be with the work that you love the work that you are doing and love the one you are with. And that's very, very important. We need to learn to love what we do also. Sometimes we may not get what we want to do. The three important things to be a great speaker and great leaders: humility, authenticity, vulnerability. Share your greatness through the pain that you went through, because that will open up your life, that will open up the audience, that will open up your workers, and then you can really connect with them. Beautifully said. Another thing that I'm totally very impressed and agree with you is to stay relevant. Stay relevant to your customer, stay relevant to your co-workers, stay relevant to your stakeholders, stay relevant to your community. And very importantly, respect facts. Try to differentiate between facts and opinion, because that can create a lot of issues within the organization, especially big organization. Lastly, you also gave us some very important tips on how to deal with adversity, you know, and that is to be resilient, not to give up, learn from it, no fear, be resilient, you know, show gratitude, have hope, have faith, focus on what you can control, focus on the possibility, focus on what you think you can do, and response to them in a very positive manner. Mr. Friedman, I'm very impressed. And on this note, I'd like to thank you to no end. And we really appreciate you giving us the time and giving us the tips on positivity during this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. God bless.
Thank you and God bless.
Yeah, Scott, I think you missed in, but next time when you are in Bangkok, three of us together, probably we'll go again to the same place, Cabbage and Condom restaurant, and have an
No.
you know, go, that's a very wonderful restaurant. We like that.
And actually, I think it's only
That's a walking distance. In lives walking distance from from Western. He lives in next to Exchange Tower. I am
Yes.
this side and in is that side. So he's a
Yeah.
walking.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Bakshi, the condom restaurant is in Soy 12.
Yeah.
1, 2. I am in Soy 16.
Yeah.
So we're very close.
Very good.
I think we should probably say for the listeners that it's cabbage and condoms, and what they're really doing is the reason they're giving out, instead of giving out mints or some kind of, some nice dessert or whatever, they give condoms out to everybody because they want to deal with the AIDS epidemic. So it's really a service, this restaurant. So it's not a naughty thing. It's a very good thing, this cabbage and condoms. So
Yes, yes. And for your information, and because of this giving out condom to protect everyone, to be free from the diseases, what it has done is reduce the population of the world. And maybe we need to increase the population now.
Okay, no, but the owner of the restaurant, he is doing it as a philanthropy. He's a philanthropist, well-known name. He has won many awards. And Kunmishai is his name.
Kunmichai, yes.
Kunmishai is a well-known name, and once we had an opportunity of getting him as a keynote speaker. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your lot of questions. And Scott, thank you so much from the core of my heart. I love you, my friend. I'm proud of you, my friend.
You too. Thank you.
This relationship of ours is fascinating, and you are truly a darling friend. And coming today on my show, being there, and going to 80 minutes now, and early morning in your place, and being with us, I have no other words to say. I hold my hands and say, my friend, I love you. I give you an e-hug.
Thanks. Love you too, my friend. I'm honored to be on the show. It was a real pleasure. Good.
And see you soon in Bangkok, and
so.
hug physically. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining from wherever you are joining, and this beautiful new DNA of leadership with Scott Friedman, the man who is humorous and a guy who really shared his journey of excellence beautifully and wonderfully to us. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice day, Scott. And nice day, good day in Canada, America, and evening in Europe. And of course, we're going to have night in India, Afghanistan, and Bangkok soon. All the best. Good luck. Scott, have a nice, wonderful day. Have your breakfast now.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This was a pre-breakfast talk. Pre-breakfast talk.
For me. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I log off.